There's a fan editor out there by the name of Nuki92 who I actually did a review of their previous fan edit for The Mandalorian, or those 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett, that were basically Mandalorian episodes. And he made kind of like a sort of a Mandalorian 2.5, and that was pretty good, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, now he's got a new one, and it's for Ahsoka, and it's called The Master and the Apprentice. Now I say this every time, but if you're gonna watch a fan edit, you should own a copy of the movie. In this case, it's not a movie; it's a series on Disney Plus. So I say, yeah, if you're gonna watch this fan edit, you should have a subscription to Disney Plus. I think that's fair, isn't it? Now, I'm not going to link directly to this fan edit, but it is available on firemerkstudios.com. There is a catch a little bit. You do need a login to be able to download any fan edits off of that site. But yeah, there you go. Now, I spoke to Nuki92 about this fan edit and about what his goals were. Basically, he said he just wanted to make it into a movie and cut out all of the unnecessary plot threads to make a more cohesive story. I agree with that, especially after watching this. I feel like he's done a really good job of streamlining the story. So what he's done is he's taken the 8 episodes of the Ahsoka series and made it into about a 2 hour and 35 minute or so movie. And I think overall, I think it works pretty well. And I think especially if you're gonna watch the series again, I mean, it's a pretty good way to do it. Before I talk about the actual edit and how it works and all that kind of stuff, I want to talk about some of the technical things. First off, there's a 5.1 track, which I was very excited about, but it feels like a stereo track that's been sort of forced into 5.1, because when I'm watching it on my TV in the living room, yeah, the dialogue and everything, basically everything is coming out all the speakers, and it's just not. I did test it over on Disney Plus. I was like, I can't remember. That's not the way this was, right? Went over to Disney Plus, pulled up the episode, and for sure, yeah, the dialogue was coming out of the center channel instead of the surround channels like it was in the edit. So that's a thing. I spoke before on the previous fan edit that I reviewed that there were some really nice edits when it came to music. There's like if the music cue is longer than what he wants from the scene, he would extend the music into the next cut, right? So there would be a gradual change in the way that the music flows. Here, it's not the same. It's more of it's like crossfaded, and that can be a bit jarring at times. I will also admit that because of how much he's cutting out of this, some of the edits felt a bit awkward. Like I wasn't like I remember I had to, in a couple of scenes, I had to back it up a little bit and go, wait, what happened to this? And of course it works. It's just a little jarring. So if you're familiar with the story already, then it's not going to be that big of a deal. But if this is like your first time watching Ahsoka, then yeah, I think it could be a problem. Now let's just talk about the edit as a whole, like taken as a whole. What do I think about it? Now, in the description, there will be a link to a Reddit thread that Nuki92 did that basically outlines, all the changes made in each episode, episode by episode, which is kind of nice. And I used it as kind of almost like a map so that I could follow exactly the choices that he was making. I think a lot of the choices were really, really well done. Like there are scenes that seem very important at the time, but overall in the scope of the entire story being told, it's not that important. So there's a lot of things taken out that I really agree with. I think overall there aren't a lot of changes to the way that the story's told, except for a couple of scenes in particular. And there's one scene that I'm thinking of, and I want to be intentionally vague here if you do want to see this fan edit, but there's in the Ahsoka series, there's a sort of a side quest kind of thing, if you can look at it that way. Sort of at the beginning of the series that he's completely taken out. And the way that he was able to do this was by changing the dialogue of a couple of different characters. And while I found that a bit jarring at first. I'm like, okay, that's clearly not what they're saying. I actually appreciated it when I saw the big picture. You know what I mean? It's like I like the fact that yeah, we didn't even need that part of it. Let's just get to the action. And I think it actually made the story flow better. Another example of something that was changed, and I would say more added, an added element to the series. There's an episode, again, I'm being vague here, but there's a scene that just contains a really cool nod to Star Wars as a whole. And I'm talking about there are references to a lot of different Star Wars in this scene, and I really appreciated that, and I thought it was really well done. It's funny though, because the way that this edit is done, it kind of it kind of shines a light on the problems with this show. And I guess maybe part of the reason why it didn't really, even though I love the characters, I love the, this is a continuation basically of Rebels. If you loved Rebels, this is kind of a continuation of that. So I was really excited about this show and excited about what was going to happen. But because of the way that the story is told, I feel like even edited down, it feels longer than it actually is. And I think when it comes down to it, I think it's the plot. There's just so much going on. There's so much going here, from here to there, and then this conversation with this person leads to this, and then that is going over here, and there's just too much. I feel like it's not a superbly crafted story. And I mean, what that comes down to is the writing, unfortunately. And I don't think any amount of editing can actually fix that. When I'm looking at this thing as a whole, a lot has been excised, but not a whole lot has been added in. So when I'm looking at this as a fan edit, I think that this is more for the kind of people that enjoyed Ahsoka okay, but they want to watch it again quicker. And I think that's what this is for, and I actually like it for that. It's one of the things where it's like I enjoyed going through the story again and seeing some of the, some of the cool scenes and things like that again, but I don't know if this would necessarily work for a new audience, like somebody who was watching it for the first time. But look, I mean, it's a fan edit and it's subjective. Everybody's going to have a different opinion on it, and I think if you gave 10 fan editors the job of cutting down Ahsoka, you would get 10 very different takes on it. And that's just the way it is. So yeah, overall I enjoyed it. And sure, go to that Reddit thread. I think that's a good way to see, yeah, if that's something you want to do. And of course, Firemark Studios is listed there, and you can go from there. But yeah, I'm kind of curious for those of you who have seen this edit. What do you think about it? And are you curious? Maybe, if you haven't seen it, maybe you're like, hey, maybe I should watch this. Let's talk about it in the comment section. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.